Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Together, please. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nasta Praishvabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. We're reading this morning from chapter 14 of the first canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. Before we read, a little review. So what was the traumatic event that happened in Maharaj Yudhishthira's life in our classes on Thursday and Friday last week? Yes. His uncle, Vidura, came and convinced his other uncle, Dhritarashtra, that it's time to leave home. And Dhritarashtra, being the kind of impersonal nature, just left without telling Yudhishthira, even though Yudhishthira had been so very kind to him. So this was very distressing to Yudhishthira, and in his typical, very humble way, how did Yudhishthira respond to this trauma? It is all my fault, he said. I didn't take care of them properly. Very instructive. I wish more of you would learn that. So then Yudhishthira was relieved, or he was somewhat relieved by Narada Muni, who, of course, appeared on the scene very timely. And what did Narada tell Yudhishthira about what he should do? Anyone remember this?
He pointed this out in 3 parts, like do not lament, continue worshipping. There was something else.
Yes, the general instruction, but the specific instruction about what he and his brother should do at this point.
Oh, should retire?
No. He told him you should wait here. You should continue your duties until what happens? Huh? Till Krishna leaves. Yeah, this is just a little foreshadowing, a little hint that Narada gave him. And according to Borijan Prabhu, Krishna was 90 years old at this time, and I guess Yudhishthira approximately the same age, and Parikshit was 35. He reigned for about 35 years. He was the king. He was responsible for a wonderful, sweet environment in the kingdom. And then Narada came, then Dhritarashtra suddenly left, and the sweetness was sort of disrupted. And Narada said, don't worry, just keep serving until Krishna leaves. This was the first premonition that Yudhishthira had, that Krishna was going to leave. Have any of you ever experienced the death of somebody close to you? So when you experience that, unless it's an elderly person, you kind of expect that this person is going to be there for the rest of your life. This person is just part of your existence, and this person will always be there. This is how Yudhishthira felt about Krishna. Of course, Krishna will always be there. So when Narada said that, it was very unexpected for him and almost unimaginable. So in this chapter, Yudhishthira does get the entire bad news, but so we're doing this chapter in 2 parts. Today are all the premonitions, or the omens, that came upon Yudhishthira prior to Krishna's departure, and then tomorrow is when he gets the bad news about Krishna's departure. I think it's 2 parts, right? 2, maybe 3. Anyway, today certainly we're just doing the omens section. Now, before we go into this, I do want to ask one question. Is anyone familiar with a novel popular in the 60s called The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? A few of enlightened souls? Okay. So in this novel, one of the villains is known for tying up his victims and reading his poetry to them. So since you are my captives for Bhagavatam class this morning, I'm going to read this section in a poetic version that I wrote in this book of The Saint Within, which is a summary of the first canto in poetry. And this will enable us to capture some of the poetic content of this, because it's a very descriptive section. Okay, so I'll just read it for you. King Yudhisthira remembered how Lord Krishna eased the weight imposed upon the earth by kings possessed of greed and hate. Arjuna went to Dwarka to learn of Krishna's plans so Yudhisthira could wisely meet the monarchy's demands. Arjuna traveled westward to that kingdom by the sea to meet the Lord and others of the Yadu dynasty. A string of evil omens then made Yudhisthira concerned and left him still more anxious for his brother to return. Just after Yudhisthira dispatched his trusted younger brother, the weather due in one season turned up within another. Good citizens transformed into a greedy, angry mob and cheated for their livelihood, neglecting honest jobs. Beloved, trusted friends began to cheat on one another, and quarrels manifested between fathers, sons, and mothers. Pernicious disagreements broke the bonds of man and wife. King Yudhisthira had never seen his subjects in such strife. As citizens degraded to unrighteous, troubled ways, King Yudhisthira began to wonder where he'd gone astray. While thinking his reign pious and this trouble undeserved, he called his brother Bhima to his chambers and observed. Arjuna went for Krishna's counsel. 7 months have passed, and in his absence, many evil omens have amassed. I wonder if Lord Krishna has departed from our lives, as Narada predicted. Has that time so soon arrived? Lord Krishna has delivered us a kingdom rich with gold, our wives, our heir, our triumphs, and imperial control. It's only due to Krishna that we draw our very breath, and only by his grace can we go forward after death. Just see, my mighty brother, how these threefold miseries, produced of one's own flesh, one's peers, or higher deities, alert us all repeatedly of dangers yet to come. Yet we proceed as usual. How foolish we've become. The left side of my body, for what seems like many days, has constantly been trembling in an inauspicious way. My heart is palpitating due to vague, uneasy fear. These signs imply an evil time is quickly drawing near. The jackal bitch rebukes the moon while spewing acrid flame, and barking dogs harass me without fear, respect, or shame. A donkey walks around me while my horse appears bereft. Auspicious beasts like cows now pass me only on my left. Just see, the pigeon heralds news of detriment and doom, while shrieking owls and ravens fill my heart with dread and gloom. These birds foretell the world collapsing in some great abyss. O Bhima, have you ever seen such inauspiciousness? The earth and mountains throb beneath an evil, smoky sky, while lightning bolts from cloudless thunder shock and mystify. When clouds do come, they shower blood in terrible monsoons, as violent winds hurl dust about and dim the sky at noon. The sun recedes quite early, turning evening into night, revealing stars that seem engaged in bitter, vicious fights. I'm not the only one who holds such pessimistic views, for everyone I see is shedding tears and quite confused. The rivers, lakes, and reservoirs rise ominously higher, and ghee no longer sets ablaze the sacrificial fire. My mind is weak and seems to grow increasingly disturbed. What is this strange, perplexing time, and what is to occur? The cows no longer nurse their calves. They cry all day and night. The bulls out in the pastures can no longer find delight. The deities appear to weep and want to leave their shrines. Our lovely towns are ugly now. Is this the end of time? These dreadful omens indicate some great catastrophe will soon descend and put an end to earth's tranquility. Although the touch of Krishna's feet made planet Earth feel graced, these signs warn of a coming time when Earth will be debased. So this is all Yudhisthira is seeing, and it's nice to see, isn't it, such a great soul as Yudhisthira also suffers from a disturbed mind, as he is saying from time to time. Okay, so we're going to read verse 14 in depth here. Okay, I'm sorry, what was that, 11? 11. Yeah. Urvakshi Bahavo Mayam Spurantyanga Puna Punaha Vepatush Chapi Hridaye Aradasyanti Vipriyam Urvakshi Bahavo Mayam Spurantyanga Puna Punaha Vepatus Chapi Hridaye Aradasyanti Vipriyam. Please chant.
Urvakshi Bahavo Mayam Spurantyanga Puna Punaha
Vepatus Chapi Hridaye
Aradasyanti Vipriya
Aradasyanti Vipriyam. Urvakshi Bahavo Mayam Spurantyanga Puna Punaha Vepatus Chapi Hridaye Aradasyanti Vipriyam. Urvakshi Bahavo Mayam Spurantyanga Puna Punaha Vepatus Chapi Hridaye Aradasyanti Vipriyam. Urvakshi Bahavo Mayam Spurantyanga Puna Punaha Vepatus Chapi Hridaye Aradasyanti Vipriyam. Synonyms together. Uru, thighs. Akshi, eyes. Bahava, the arms. Mahyam, my. Spuranti, quivering. Anga, the left side of the body. Na, again and again. Vepatu, palpitations. Cha, also. Api, certainly. Hridaye, in the heart. Ara, to fear. Dasyanti, indicating. Vipriyam, undesirables. And translation together. The left side of my body, my thighs, arms, and eyes are all quivering again and again. I am having heart palpitations due to fear. All this indicates undesirable happenings. Who would like to read the purport? Huh?
Material existence is full of undesirables. Things we do not want are forced upon us by some superior energy, and we do not see that these undesirables are under the grip of all the three modes of material nature. When a man's left eye, arm, and thigh are quivering constantly, one must know that something is going to happen which is undesirable. These undesirables are compared to fire in a forest. No one goes into the forest to set fires, but fires are automatically take place in the forest, creating inconceivable calamities for the living beings of the forest. Such a fire cannot be extinguished by any human efforts. The fire can be extinguished only by the mercy of the Lord, who sends clouds to pour water on the forest. Similarly, undesirable happenings in life cannot be checked by any number of plans. Such miseries can be removed only by the mercy of the Lord, who sends his bona fide representatives to enlighten human beings and thus save them from all calamities.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So when the man's left side quivers, that's inauspicious. Woman's right side quivers, that's inauspicious. This is the superstition, anyway, the tradition. So the Yudhisthira is saying, amongst his many other subjective anxieties, that he's experiencing this, and even heart palpitations. So he sees as omens, something is wrong, something is wrong. And again, the context of this is the war's over, Yudhisthira's been ruling, everything's going beautifully, and he sent Arjuna to Dwarka for no great urgent reason. He just wanted Arjuna to check in. And now he's gone and all these inauspicious things are happening. Remember, there's no email, there's no internet. Arjuna had to go there. It took 7 months. He was gone for 7 months with no word. So Yudhisthira's anxiety is increasing. And then these omens come. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada connects this to the forest fire of material existence, samsara davanala lita loka. When there is a fire there in the forest, there is really no means of escape. And in the first responders in these terrible fires in California, they have to be really careful not to get surrounded by the fire. And if they do, they have these emergency blankets and techniques and so forth. But the danger is very intense. And the forest fire begins with the random rubbing sometimes of bamboo, at least in the Indian jungle. The bamboo, just by the wind, rubs to the point of making a spark. So no one comes in and causes it, it just happens. So this forest fire is compared to our life in the material world. You remember when the sages of Naimisharanya were asking Sutta Goswami, now that Krishna is gone, what's going to happen? So this chapter is beginning to unveil the consequences and the answer to that question. The full description of Krishna's departure is given in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And there we read how after the great battle of Kurukshetra, all the armies that had overburdened the earth were eliminated. This was, if we remember, why Krishna came in the first place. Because the earth was complaining, I've got so many armies on me that it's creating great distress. So the demigod, they went to Lord Brahma to try to help the earth, and Brahma said, I can't do anything, we have to go to Vishnu, and they went to Vishnu, so Vishnu said, don't worry, Krishna will be coming. So because Vishnu said that Krishna will be coming, if you read the Wikipedia or whatever, encyclopedias, it says that Krishna is an avatar of Vishnu. And they don't understand that Vishnu was already an avatar of Krishna taking care of the material world. However, in any case, when Krishna was here, then everything on earth was auspicious. And all of these inauspicious influences were mitigated by his arrangement. Like, for example, when Jarasandha attacked Mathura, where Krishna was living, he was upset because his 2 daughters were the wives of Kamsa. And then Krishna had gone and killed his son-in-law. So Jarasandha was furious, and he was attacking, and he attacked with a violent army, huge army, and Krishna and a handful of soldiers killed all of them. They captured Jarasandha and brought him to Krishna and said, should we kill him also? And Krishna said, no, let him go. And they were confused, but they let him go. And of course, then he went back, and his friends all said, Jarasandha, it was just bad luck. It was a bad day. Don't worry, you'll get him next time. So he assembled another army and attacked again. And this happened how many times? 17 times. And this way, Krishna reduced the burden of the earth by all of these armies, personally eliminating them. But that wasn't quite efficient enough. So then, by his arrangement, this huge battle of Kurukshetra took place, where everyone was fighting each other, and almost everybody was killed. The Pandavas had a small number of soldiers left. Duryodhana's side had only 3 or 4. And so at the end of the battle, of course, those surviving soldiers included Ashwatthama, who came in and butchered the sons of the Pandavas in their sleep, very un-Kshatriya-like. So all of this took place because these soldiers eliminated one another. And after that, only one army was left. And what was that army? Krishna's army, yes, in the Yadu dynasty in Dwarka. So there was no competition for them. Therefore, Krishna was concerned, now these guys are going to exert themselves. And so he arranged, by an elaborate arrangement, that they would have some fratricidal war. What happened was one of the young Yadu boys and his friends decided to play a prank on some sages. So the boy dressed up as a girl and put a pillow under his sari. And the boys came to the sages and said, "Oh, great sages, this lovely young woman is pregnant. By your mystic vision, can you tell whether she will give birth to a boy or a girl?" And they were like messing with the wrong crowd. The sages were not amused by the prank. And so they looked, they saw immediately what was going on, and they said, "She will give birth to a lump of iron that will destroy your dynasty." And the boys were frightened, and they lifted the sari, and sure enough, a lump of iron fell out. So frightened, they ran to the king, Ugrasen, and told him everything that had happened. And Ugrasen said, "Just give me that lump, and don't worry, it's all right." So he decided he would deal with that lump by having it ground into tiny little pieces. And so then he took those pieces and scattered them in the sea. Everything was gone except there's one little piece left, and he threw that also in the sea. So all of the iron filings were washed up on the seashore near Dwarka. And that lump was swallowed by a fish who was later caught by a hunter. And that hunter, upon cleaning the fish, found this lump of iron and said, "Oh, this will make a nice arrowhead." So this hunter was named Jara, and he was actually an incarnation of Bhrigu Muni. In his past life, Bhrigu Muni had been testing Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, who's the supreme. So he tested Brahma by disrespecting him. He tested Shiva by speaking critically of him, and they both got angry. And then he tested Vishnu by kicking him in the chest as he was lying, being massaged by Lakshmi. So when he kicked Vishnu, Vishnu said, "Oh, my dear Bhrigu, my chest is so hard and your foot is so soft. Did my chest hurt your foot?" So seeing that Vishnu did not get angry, Bhrigu understood, oh, this is the supreme. Vishnu is supreme. And Vishnu had no anger whatsoever, but Lakshmi was not so kind. Lakshmi cursed him in two ways. First, because of this offense, Brahmins will always be poor. And sorry to break the news. Govinda's saying, "Oh, I don't want to take second initiation." And also Bhrigu would be responsible for Krishna's departure. So this was Jara, and so he made this arrowhead. Meanwhile, the iron filings all washed up on the shore and grew into reeds, like cat o' nine tails, these just tall, thin reeds, but they were as hard as iron. So Krishna, knowing all this, said to his family, "Why don't we go to Prabhas and perform a sacrifice? This way we'll counteract any inauspiciousness." So they all went to Prabhas, this was sort of like a vacation place on the seashore. And these Kshatriyas would sometimes take very mild intoxicants. And so in this case, they drank a little rice wine. And in their slightly inebriated state, some argument arose, and it inflamed. And then they all started fighting one another with their bare hands. And then they started reaching for these nearby reeds and beating each other with like these iron rods. And they beat each other to death. So the whole family killed one another. And only a few survived. Uddhava and others, a couple of others. So this was the end of the Yadu dynasty. And Krishna then retired nearby having seen his mission now completed, all of these armies were gone. So he was sitting there relaxing with his lotus feet out, and the hunter, Jara, saw the pink lotus feet of Krishna and thought, oh, there's a deer. Let me shoot this deer. So he shot Krishna in the foot. And when he came, he was so apologetic. Oh, I'm so sorry. And Krishna said, no, this is fine. So this wound, which was not at all serious, Krishna used that as a means to leave this world. And he left behind his Virat Rup, his form of material energy, so that the atheist would be satisfied. Okay, see, Krishna's just an ordinary person. And Krishna wanted to make everybody happy. He didn't want to do any like mystical things that would confound the atheists, but even further. So this is how Krishna disappeared. And so after this happened, Krishna had sent his chariot driver, Daruka, back to Dwarka to give the news, what had transpired. And everyone was so distraught. Krishna has left. All of the wives of the Yadu heroes came, and as their bodies were being cremated, they embraced their husbands and joined them in the cremation. Krishna's parents were there, and they also threw themselves in the fire, Devaki and Vasudeva. And all of this terrible lamentation was all of a sudden visited upon all of these great devotees. And the same now is going to happen vicariously to Yudhishthira. So this is how Krishna disappeared and how the great tragedy unfolded. All of the news is going to be coming to Krishna through Arjuna, because Arjuna was there in Dwarka when all of this happened. And when he heard the message from Daruka, then he immediately took charge of the situation and tried to help all of the sons, the children and wives and elders of Krishna go to Hastinapur for safety. But as they were traveling, Arjuna was attacked. And although Arjuna had defeated all the greatest warriors in the world, these dacoits who attacked him, just low-class thieves, managed to overpower him and take all of the wives of Krishna. So the acharyas explain that these dacoits were actually Krishna. Krishna expanded as these dacoits because he wanted his wives back. But Arjuna was even more devastated that he could not fulfill his purpose of saving Krishna's wives. So all of this news he brings back to Dwarka. And when we read tomorrow his report, it's very interesting to note how Yudhishthira first asks him, Arjuna, you look so depressed. And then he names all kinds of things that might have happened. Did this happen? Did that happen? And Arjuna's not saying anything, and then he finally says, or is it possible Krishna has left? So that's another beautiful, dramatic exchange that we'll read. In this exchange, Srila Prabhupada is comparing the forest fire, the material world, to a forest fire. When Krishna disappeared, all of the good qualities went with him, and all that was left are things that we are very familiar with in our lives: anxiety, distress, depression, poverty, confusion, illusion. All of this is our daily experience in this world. And none of that was there at the time of Yudhishthira. No one had any of these problems. And today, 50% of marriages end in divorce, and 80% of second marriages end in divorce. So for someone even to stay married in Kali Yuga makes them a great Mahatma, a great Goswami. Just to stay married and to be decent to your family. It's like, whoa, now this is a great soul. Everyone is distressed. If somebody is actually happy in Kali Yuga, they're in one of two categories. Either they're extremely intelligent or they're extremely stupid. Like, go haters, right? What's that? Yeah, ignorance is bliss, yeah. One of my friends, Brahmatirtha Prabhu, had an acquaintance who died very abruptly, unexpectedly, from some kind of aneurysm. young man in his early 40s, family man. And it was very tragic because his wife was a widow and his children were orphans. So at the memorial service, Brahmatirtha went and he said everybody was just talking about this man. And the only thing they could say over and over again was, guess what? What a great fan of the Gators he was. This was sort of the summary of his life. He would do this, he would do that, out of his great devotion for this reptile. So it's a...
That's foreshadowing too.
Fortunately, he knew Brahmatirtha, so maybe there's some... he knew a devotee. Anyway, the point is that without spirituality, what is the result of our lives? We ate, we slept, we mated, we defended, and we died. It's like, what is the whole purpose of it all? We just, like a dog chasing its tail, we just kept doing this mindless life, making money, spending money, eating something, having sex, sleeping it off, getting back to work the next day. And then at the end, it has amounted to, well, now I can no longer mate, and my sleep is disrupted, and I have to eat this very selective diet. I can't digest anything. I'm just going to take whatever money I've accumulated in my life, I'm going to spend trying to extend it. The average person in this country spends $250,000 in the last year of their life. That's average. That's the cost, trying to keep alive a little bit longer, trying to just push it a little far. For what? So the illusion makes us think, okay, well, this is the purpose of life and I'm enjoying it. But the reality is that it really does not make us happy. But no one wants to say that. Nobody wants to say that. Everybody thinks, okay, everyone else is enjoying and they must be cool, so I got to look like I'm enjoying too. I don't like the way this alcohol tastes, but I got to pretend like I like it. I don't like the way this smoking feels, but I got to pretend like I like it because I want to fit in. Even little children, if you give a child a piece of burned flesh to eat, or over here, or some nice fruit over here, what are they going to choose? They'll always go for the fruit. But then they're taught, no, you have to eat this so you'll be big and strong. So all of this ignorance is compared to the forest fire. This is burning us all up. So Krishna sends his representatives, Prabhupada said. That verse is so nice. Samsara dava nala lita loka. This samsara, this ocean of birth and death, is like a blazing forest fire. Trinaya karuna guna gana tvam. Karuna means mercy. And the spiritual master is compared to the cloud that brings rain on the blazing fire. That is the only thing really that can stop a fire. Ultimately, even the first responders are dependent on the weather, ultimately. So the rain of mercy of the spiritual master comes from this gunarnavat, what is that? The ocean of guna, of good qualities. So just like the arrangement's so nice. We need water. Prabhupada explains in the teachings of Queen Kunti that we all need water. So Krishna said, oh, okay, here's a nice, huge amount of water for you, and we'll put salt in it to make sure it's preserved. And then we'll arrange for the water to be distilled by the sun and then brought over the land and then dropped in the form of rain. Such a nice arrangement, he said. So the forest fire of birth and death is extinguished by the mercy of the spiritual master. Tasya kalyana gunarnavasya. Yeah, that's it. Kana ganatvam. Kana means cloud. Like a monsoon cloud. Gana ganatvam. So the role of the spiritual master is so important for this reason. Part of material life is thinking, I don't need anybody. I don't need any help. I got it all together. I don't. And the idea of a guru is particularly repulsive because it indicates a weakness. Like, oh, you need somebody to tell you what to do. So it's very important, practically speaking, in our Krishna Consciousness Society, what is the role of the guru? When Srila Prabhupada started our movement, he was the only guru, and he set the standards for everybody, and identified himself as the founder acharya, meaning these are foundational principles for all time. At that time, all of his followers were very young men and women. I only remember one old man in the Los Angeles temple. He was maybe 55 or 60, and he was a real strange presence. Otherwise, all of Prabhupada's disciples were in their late teens, early 20s. The real ancient ones were 30. They were like, whoa, this. And Prabhupada was in his 70s, so just look at this contrast. So all of these young men and women had this burning missionary desire, and seeing that this was Prabhupada's purpose, to spread Krishna consciousness, they would just go to him, please, and tell us how we can serve you. And he would engage them in establishing the mission. Practically speaking, from North America, all the amazing young men and women who were joining, he sent all over the world. He sent to Europe and England and Germany, Australia, excuse me, I'm fired up here. America and Canada, all these young North Americans were the pioneers. And he engaged them, and he kept in touch with them, and he encouraged and trained them. So then Krishna consciousness took root, because he empowered everybody so much in all these countries and in cities all over America. So what he left us was the basic formula, 16 rounds and 4 regulative principles. And there was no congregation in those days, just missionaries and up-and-coming missionaries. And then later, these missionaries discovered that being a missionary was probably not their career. And so they would, because they could not earn a living as missionaries, and they're getting married and having children, so they had to go off and develop other careers. So the role of the guru has changed in this way. And change is okay. Change of the details is okay. It's important to understand that. Prabhupada just one thing after the next. He would try something, it didn't work, he'd change it because they were details. But then principles cannot be changed. So these things he established as principles. 4 regulative principles, 16 rounds. If you want to be Krishna conscious, you have to do these things. That's not negotiable. However, the details of how we serve Krishna, exactly how we serve Krishna, that is not as homogeneous as it was in the 70s. Now people are going to find different ways to serve Krishna and develop their lives, and that's fine, that's good. We have congregations now, which we didn't have then. So most people are going to be congregational members, and a few will be religious professionals. So therefore, gurus in our Sangha today are not required to try to direct every single decision that a disciple makes. It was like that with Prabhupada. They would write Prabhupada with every detailed question. Once a disciple wrote with a bunch of detailed questions about Tulsi Devi, and he answered them all, but one of the questions was so common sense. He said, as far as this question, use your common sense, and if you don't have any, find someone who does. And he was so amazing, Prabhupada was so amazing that while publishing his books and meeting people and inspiring the movement, he was answering every letter he received, So we have these books of Prabhupada's letters, which are amazing. What we don't have is all the letters he received. And one devotee had a chance to see those one time, and it was just one problem after the next. Can't work with this one, can't work with that one. And Prabhupada would always answer them in such encouraging ways that when you read his letters, it's just also bright and positive. But people were writing him with problems. And he said once, don't make me problem pod. This is the austerity of the guru, that they have to help the disciple be able to maintain their foundational principles, 4 regulator principles and 16 rounds. That's the commitment. And we read in Prabhupada's books over and over again the importance of the guru, like in this purport and everywhere. Guru is so important. And we understand that. So how do we address this question? And the first answer, and often when counseling devotees, I get this question. So, what do I do about a guru? So the first thing is that to understand the role of the founder acharya in our lives. The role of, none of us would be here without Srila Prabhupada. So first and foremost is Srila Prabhupada. We should understand, we talk about a relationship with Prabhupada, that may be a little obtuse, a little abstract, but at least we should know Srila Prabhupada and come to appreciate what he did, because it is truly a modern miracle. Nobody expected he could be successful in this. Nobody thought he was going to succeed, and even he didn't think he was going to succeed. What's that?
Real proper to riches.
Yeah. From their point of view, rags to riches, yes. And they would sometimes ask him, how did you do it? You went with so little money. You had some... There's a lot of good stories about that, but I want to stick to the point here. Srila Prabhupada's role in our lives is important. If we feel like our Diksha Guru is more important than Prabhupada, then how can we have a cohesive organization? So it's going to be little fiefdoms of disciples here and there. So it is really Srila Prabhupada who is the glue that keeps our Sangha together. And every one of us, and successive generations on and on, will have the right to say, I'm a follower of Srila Prabhupada. We see this in like the Ramanuja Sampradaya, the Madhva Sampradaya in India. These great acharyas started their chain of teachers, but all the members feel, I am a follower of Ramanuja. So in the same way, Prabhupada is the founder of our Sangha. So we have a right and a duty to feel, when we read Guru, we can think of Prabhupada. And not feel like we're jumping over. Okay? But the role of the Diksha Guru is important nonetheless, because if we don't have a Diksha Guru, we just say, oh, well, Prabhupada is my Guru. But then how do you know Prabhupada is your Guru? Prabhupada's telling me in the heart. I've actually met devotees like this. Prabhupada tells me in the heart what to do, which is a great way of saying, I do whatever my mind says. So the Diksha Guru is a person to whom we are accountable for the regulator principles and 16 rounds. We make that vow, we make it in public, we make it before the fire, we make it before the deities, so that we can be assured that, okay, I am accountable to this person. This is a way we offer service to Srila Prabhupada, to accept initiation from one of his followers. And the follower cannot replace Prabhupada any more than a salesman can replace the president of the company, in a simple way. So in this way, the Diksha Guru has a very important role, but I just wanted to explain something I've shared with devotees who ask this question. When should I select a Diksha Guru? Okay. Well, the answer to that is that there's no rush. Don't be in a rush. And I need a guru, so I'm going to get this one. Because then what happens is you choose this one, and then, well, actually, I think I'll choose this one, and I'll go to the other one. There's no need to make a declaration, I'm going to choose this particular person. Because before we can come to that point, we have to be able to say, I've been chanting 16 rounds for at least a year. I've taken the ISKCON Disciples course. I've been following the regulator principles. So we have to be qualified. Once we're qualified, then we can start shopping. It's like going out to buy a car. The car salesmen hate what they call tire kickers. Some people who are coming to look at cars, they have no money, but they want to look at the car and waste the salesman's time. So we need to be sure that we're able to make a purchase. And if we are, then we can start looking. In one sense, in the big picture, it's not as important who we choose if we're following Prabhupada's instructions. It's important that we choose somebody who's responsible, who's reliable, but we should know that this guru is not going to tell us, okay, now you're my disciple, go left, go right, do this, go that, up, down, This is not the role of the guru in this context. The role of the guru is to be a counselor, to be a friend, and to care, to be able to bond in a relationship with a disciple. There are people who cannot bond in relationships. They're called narcissists. They can't stay married, they can't stay in a relationship, they can't even bond with their children. And they go through friends like Kleenex, just one after the next. So to be able to accept the love of a guru and then give that love to others, this is the path of Krishna consciousness. If you keep chanting, you can expect this will happen in your life. So in this way, this is the role of guru, as Prabhupada is saying here. This is the way that we are delivered from this birth and death. And then, in turn, we can deliver others by being able to bond with them and help them and make a commitment and keep it. I wanted to talk, I know we're over time. Can I just make one more? Okay, so I just wanted to say this. How does Krishna guide us? This is another beautiful facet of this pastime, because Yudhisthira is seeing all these omens. Is this how Krishna guides us, with omens, with birds, or random messages we get or something? Sometimes it feels like that, and all of us have some mystic experiences that have brought us to here to Krishna house, is it not? Somehow or other, this mystic thing happened, that mystic thing happened. But we see also Krishna is guiding Yudhisthira with a negative. He's giving him all of these scary omens, and then the terrible news from Arjuna. So why would Krishna's devotees suffer like that? It's because Krishna is pushing in another direction. See, this is where having help from a guru is so important. When negative things happen, you can see, Krishna is pushing me in this way. And this life is just fraught with anxiety and troubles and disappointments. But for a devotee, we should know these things are happening by Krishna's arrangement to help us come closer to Krishna. Because ultimately, in this forest fire, there is no safe place. There is no shelter. And as hard as we try for our whole lives to do it, in a moment, Krishna can just take it away. Everything that we've worked for. So sometimes we're very drawn to certain services. That can be a sign from Krishna. And sometimes we're getting hit in the face with a brick by Krishna. And that can also be a way Krishna is guiding us. Okay? So the point of the devotee is above these, is transcendental to these comings and goings in the forest fire of material life. Transcendental because I always just want to serve my guru. All right, any thoughts, questions, reflections? Next.
A question and a comment, if you don't mind.
Please.
My comment is that one of the things I love so much about Prabhupada is he's not the first person that I read that complains about all the problems of this material world, but he was the first one that did more than just complain. He offered a solution to each one. That's why I had earned a lot of respect for Prabhupada, because he actually came up with solutions. Or actually, he actually provided solutions.
Beautiful.
My question is, can you ask your Diksha Guru material questions like, what should I do about this job? How should I divide my wealth? What should I do about a spouse? And so on. Can you ask your Diksha Guru these material questions?
Definitely. You can ask them, but you should know that the decisions rest on you, nonetheless. This is one of the mistakes of novice Diksha Gurus. They give material direction to their disciples, and then it's like, you break it, you buy it. Gurudev, you told me to marry this person, and now it's not working out. So this is why the instructions, the absolute instructions, end with the regulative principles and 16 rounds. But then, by all means, it's wise to ask, what is your opinion? And to take that with some seriousness. But not necessarily, though, as absolute. And the Guru should also not give it as absolute. I am instructing you to do this. Prabhupada could do that, but we cannot. We need to be independently thoughtful, make our own decisions, and take the consequences also. And sometimes we think, that old guru of mine, he was right. That's okay. All right, anything else? HG Prabhu.
I like what you mentioned about Krishna will guide us both positively and negatively, and the fact that the guru is necessary for us to learn how to discern the Lord's mercy in any situation. And if not, we'll think, oh, I'm cursed or God's angry at me. But the guru, having gone through many obstacles himself, can help the disciple to discern that this is Krishna's mercy.
Yes, that's right. And the experienced guru will also be able to advise, but how to navigate. Yes. But then also has to be prepared that those pieces of advice may or may not be taken, depending on the mentality of the disciple. Okay, anything else? Oh, Govinda? And then Drew. Okay. Could you get a microphone, Prema? Thank you.
A question. What's with sages cursing like people? Sorry, it's just a question, but they're supposed to be sages, and even you have Narada Muni cursing, and so it's a general question that just came to my mind.
Narada Muni cursing.
Kuver. Naigu and Kuver.
Oh, right. No, well, you're right. No, yeah. So I curse you for asking that question. No, it is always for the benefit. Yeah, when the sages curse, and we can also see, like with Parikshit Maharaj and Shringi. Shringi cursed Maharaj Parikshit to be killed in 7 days, and that was Krishna's way of furthering his mission. That he was leaving, and all the devotees were leaving, and there was no stopping the onslaught of Kali Yuga. So why is there Kali Yuga? Why are we cursed with this Kali Yuga? It is all to help us for the same purpose, to be good and fed up with the material world. So the sons of Kuvera they also came to that conclusion, and they came out of their tree bodies as great devotees. So it's always for the benefit, yes, whenever there's a curse. So when the sages cursed the Yadu boys, it was for Krishna's purpose. Okay, good question. Last question from Drew.
So my question is just how does one please the guru, and also how does one know that they are doing so and maybe avoid acting in vain, like thinking that they are but they're not?
Mm-hmm. It's very akin to a marriage in a way. Like if you're in the service mood in a marriage, the marriage has a chance of working. If both parties are in a service mood, it can work. So we want to take a guru who's in a service mood, not an enjoying mood. And then in that relationship, we want to try to render service. So how do we know what a spouse or partner wants? Well, it comes from experience, from a working relationship, doesn't it? Sometimes the spouse will spell it out. Okay, I want you to do the dishes, and you take out the garbage, blah, blah, blah. But generally, it's more nuanced and more subtle than that. This is the meaning of a relationship. And when we ask advice and we get to understand the person that we're dealing with. And from that, with a little intelligence, we can understand, well, this will probably please and this will probably displease. And so we can judge and learn from the relationship. The impersonalists, they just use a guru. Prabhupada was once walking and a disciple helped him up a little rise. Then he took the disciple's hands. When he got to the top, this is how the impersonalist treats their guru. You take me to an elevated position, then I don't need you anymore. See, no relationship required. So really to bond with a guru and to exchange love with a guru, this is the actual meaning of how to please the guru. Okay? Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. What happened? Oh.
Body's fun.
Okay. Because we're already imposing poetry, Nitai insisted today, this is a poetic version of Sarira Avijajal, okay? So we can sing it to the same melody. Ready? Bodies full of ignorance, fraught with lust in every sense, throw us in the sea of death and birth. Of the senses, lusty tongues rarely can be overcome, while the soul is struggling on this earth. Krishna is so merciful, he helps us regain control. Leaving remnants after he has done, let us take what he has left, calling loudly, feeling blessed. Radha Krishna Chaitanya Nitai, 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 Srila Prabhupada ki jai.